This demo will demonstrate how to manually add a count or distinct count in Power BI without relying on DAX formulas. It's as simple as dragging and dropping the desired columns and selecting count or distinct count from the available options. The card visual will then display both the count of product ID and the distinct count of product category. But for more advanced scenarios, we'll explore how to use the count function within DAX to perform more powerful calculations. What are count functions in Power BI? The count functions are used to count the number of rows in a table or to count specific values in a column. There are several count functions available in DAX, each with a specific use case. Here are some of the commonly used count functions. Count counts the number of non-blank, numeric cells in a column. CountA counts the number of non-empty cells in a range, includes text, numbers, logical values, etc. CountAx counts the number of rows in a column that meet a condition, used in DAX for Power BI. CountX counts rows after applying a filter, used in DAX for Power BI. Distinct count counts the number of unique values in a column. Distinct count and blank counts the number of unique values in a column excluding blank. Count blank counts the number of blank cells in a specified range or column. Now let's dig deeper into these functions. The count function in DAX is used to calculate the number of rows in a specified column that contain non-blank values. It excludes blank cells and true/false values. For example, in this formula, count is like saying count how many. Then in sales, product ID tells us exactly what to count. It says look at the product ID entries in our sales list and count how many there are. I will verify the result by creating a table that includes month and count of product ID. Let's create another example using the count function to calculate the total number of orders in June. As what we expected, the result aligns with our expectations. The total order on June is 422. Now let's explore the CountA function. The CountA function counts the number of non-blank values in a column, including text, numbers, logical values, and error values, but excludes truly empty cells, while the count function counts the number of rows in a specified column that contain non-blank values. Now, let's see the differences. Let's assume this table as our sample data for our demo by comparing the count and CountA. Count age will return 13, since there are 2 blank values in the age column. Count A, age, will return 13. Same as count because it only counts non-blank values. Count A, name, will return 15, since all rows have non-blank values in the name column. Count, score, will return 14, since there is one blank value in the score column. Count A, score, will also return 14, same as count because it only counts non-blank values. Count A, active, will return 15, since all rows have non-blank Boolean values in the active column. In summary, count and count A will give the same results when there are no blank values. However, count A can handle text and Boolean values, while count is limited to numeric values. In Power BI, both CountX and CountAx functions help you count rows based on conditions. CountX evaluates an expression over a table and counts rows where the expression returns a numeric value, date, or string. It excludes blanks. CountAx offers more flexibility, handling logical values, true/false, alongside numeric, date, and string data. However, it only counts rows with non-blank results from the expression evaluation. So, CountX is useful when you want to count all rows meeting a condition, regardless of blank values, while CountAx is ideal for situations where you need to exclude blanks and potentially handle logical values. But they have some key differences, as we can see on the table below. Here are some specific examples of syntax for CountAx. This formula counts the number of rows where is discounted is true. In CountX, this formula counts the number of rows where the discount is greater than 0. Now, let's use these two syntaxes for our demonstrations. This table will be our sample data. Using a card, we can visualize the result, and the result is 10. This is because there are 10 true values in our sample data. The result is the same equal to 10 because there are 10 numbers greater than 0, Now let's create another example using different data samples. Let's assume this table as our example and the syntax that we'll use in this demo. These two formulas will count the number of products in the sales table with a quantity greater than 100. The if function checks each row to see if quantity is greater than 100. If true, it returns 1. Otherwise, it returns blank. Now that we're back in Power BI, let's start creating the measures. We expect the result to be 2 because our table has 2 rows greater than 100. For the next measure, the expected result is 3 because there are 3 rows greater than 100. Some key points to be remember. Use CountX if you only want to count rows with non-blank results from the evaluated expression. Use CountAx if you want to include rows that evaluate to blank in the final count. CountAx offers more flexibility for counting based on complex conditions, but be mindful of how blank values are handled. CountX provides a more straightforward count, excluding blank results. CountAx offers more control over counting logic, but includes blank results from the evaluation. Distinct count or distinct count and O blank. Which is which? Distinct count. This function counts the number of distinct values in a column. It considers all non-blank values, text, numbers, dates, as unique and counts them. It may also count blank values as unique. Distinct count and O blank. This function is similar to distinct count, but it specifically excludes blank values from the count. It only considers rows with non-blank values in the specified column for counting distinct items. Now, let's take a look at these two syntaxes we'll be using for this demo. We'll explore how they differ from each other. I've also prepared a table to make it easier to see the differences in the results of the measures. Now that we're back in Power BI, let's start creating the measures. The first measure uses distinct count, which counts all distinct values, including nulls. In our table with 14 rows, 7 names and 7 blanks, this results in 8 distinct values because blanks are counted. Then, using the distinct count and O blank function, the result is 7 because it excludes nulls in the table. Choosing the right distinct count function in DAX depends on how you want to handle blank values. The standard distinct count counts all unique entries in a column, including blanks. This is useful when you want to capture the total number of distinct possibilities, even if some data points are missing. However, if you only care about unique values with actual data, use distinct count and O blank. This function excludes blank cells, giving you a more accurate count of distinct entries with real information. For the last part, let's talk about count blank functions. In Power BI, the count blank function is a DAX tool that counts blank cells, empty or with nothing, within a specific column, helping analyze large datasets. It takes the column name as input and returns the number of blank cells found. Note that blank cells, including empty strings, are different from zeros, numeric values, and will be counted, while rows with no data will return a blank instead of 0. Now let's take a look for this demo using same table as our data sample. Back in Power BI, let's start creating the measures. The first measures will expect the result to 7 because it has 7 blank cells in column name. The second measures will return to 3 because there are 3 blank cells in order total. And last measures, the result will return to 1 because there is 1 blank cell in order ID. CountBlank function tackles data quality by identifying blank cells within a specific column. It's a DAX function that takes a column name as input and returns the number of empty or null cells in that column. This helps analyze large datasets by highlighting areas with missing information. Remember, CountBlank treats blank strings as empty cells but excludes zeros, numeric values. It also returns a blank if there's no data to analyze, and 0 if there are rows but no blanks.